Have you ever noticed that people sometimes associate a particular way of speaking with being gay? Is there really such a thing as a gay voice, or is it just another stereotype? In this video, we're diving deep into this question to find out what's behind the idea of a gay accent. We'll look at scientific studies, social influences, and the ways that speech patterns connect with identity. By the end of this video, you might have a completely new perspective on why some voices are perceived a certain way. Maybe you've felt judged for the way you speak or wondered why others see you differently because of your voice. Stick with us, and you'll discover what really drives these perceptions, and why it's much more complex than it seems. If you've ever questioned whether your voice reveals more about you than just your words, this is the video for you. 1. Does a gay voice really exist? Is there really something called a gay voice? Many people think so, but what does that actually mean? The idea of a gay voice comes from the belief that gay men tend to speak in a particular way that is different from heterosexual men. This includes higher pitch, more pronounced vowel sounds, and certain speech patterns that are seen as more expressive or dramatic. But is this just a stereotype, or can it be measured scientifically? Researchers have studied these speech characteristics, looking at specific elements like tone variation, vowel length, and articulation of sounds. Some studies suggest that gay men, on average, do have certain voice qualities that are more common among them than heterosexual men. However, these differences are subtle and can't be used to prove someone's sexuality just by listening to them. It's important to note that these voice traits aren't universal. Not every gay man speaks with a so-called gay voice, and not everyone with these vocal qualities identifies as gay. The gay voice is more of a cultural perception than a fixed characteristic. It's shaped by how society views certain speech patterns and what people associate with masculinity or femininity. Interestingly, the way someone speaks can also depend on their environment. In some cases, people may adopt certain speech traits to fit into a social group or express their identity more clearly. This means the gay voice is not just about biology, it's influenced by culture and personal choices, too. So, while the idea of a gay voice may have some basis in reality, it's much more complex than just sounding a certain way. It's a blend of individual expression, cultural influences, and how we perceive others. 2. What do studies say about the speech of gay men? There have been several studies conducted to explore how gay men speak and whether their speech patterns differ from those of heterosexual men. One of the most consistent findings is that gay men often have a greater variation in pitch, meaning their voices rise and fall more dramatically than heterosexual men. This gives their speech a more expressive or emotional tone, which some people associate with femininity. Research has also shown that gay men tend to hold vowel sounds longer. When pronouncing vowels like a, e, or o, the sound tends to be drawn out more than in the speech of heterosexual men. This can make their speech feel more melodic or fluid. Additionally, consonant sounds, especially s, may also be extended, giving the impression of a lisp, although this is often just a more pronounced articulation of the sound rather than a speech impediment. What's fascinating is that these speech characteristics are found in different languages. Whether the language is English, Dutch, or French, gay men often share these vocal traits, suggesting that this speech pattern isn't limited to just one culture or country. This means the way gay men speak might not just be influenced by their native language but by broader social or cultural factors. It's important to remember, though, that these are general findings. Not every gay man speaks this way, and not every person who speaks with these traits is gay. Speech patterns can vary widely from person to person, and while trends may exist, they don't apply universally. It's also worth noting that these studies primarily focus on male speech, leaving the speech of lesbian and bisexual individuals less explored. In summary, the speech patterns associated with gay men, such as greater pitch variation and elongated vowels, are well documented across various languages and cultures. However, these characteristics are not definitive or exclusive to gay men, they simply reflect one aspect of the diverse ways people express themselves. 3. The length of vowels and the S sound. One of the most noticeable features in the speech of gay men, according to research, is the way they extend certain sounds, especially vowels and the S sound. This tendency to hold on to vowels like A, E, I, O, and U for a little longer than usual is a key factor in why some people perceive a gay voice. It creates a more drawn-out, flowing way of speaking, which can stand out compared to shorter, more clipped vowel sounds often heard in other speech patterns. Similarly, the S sound plays a big role in this perception. Many people associate a lisp with the gay voice, but in reality, this isn't a true lisp, it's more about hyperarticulation. Gay men may pronounce the S sound more sharply and for a longer duration than heterosexual men. This exaggerated articulation can sometimes be mistaken for a speech impediment, but it's really just a stylistic choice or an unconscious part of their speech pattern. This elongation of sounds can give the impression of a more refined or precise way of speaking. It might also come across as more feminine to some listeners, which is why the gay voice is often described as sounding less traditionally masculine. However, it's crucial to remember that these speech traits are not inherently tied to femininity or masculinity, they're simply different ways of expressing oneself vocally. Interestingly, this trait of prolonging vowels and the S sound has been observed across various languages, suggesting that it's not just an English-speaking phenomenon. Whether in English, French, or Dutch, gay men often display these vocal tendencies, further proving that the gay voice isn't restricted by geography or language but may be linked to deeper social or cultural influences. In conclusion, the way gay men articulate vowels and the S sound is one of the most significant aspects of what people perceive as the gay voice. This speech pattern, however, is not a flaw or defect, it's simply one of many ways in which individuals express their identity through their voice. 4. Is there really no connection to hormones? One of the common misconceptions about the differences in voice between gay and heterosexual men is that it might be related to hormones, particularly testosterone. People often assume that the way someone sounds is tied to their biological makeup, but studies have shown that this isn't the case. The vocal differences that people perceive between gay and straight men have little to do with hormone levels, especially testosterone. Testosterone does play a role in voice development, particularly during puberty when it deepens the voice in males. However, once the voice has fully developed, the subtle differences that people hear between gay and straight men's voices are more likely a result of environmental factors, cultural influences, and personal expression. It's not about biology, it's about behavior and social context. Researchers have found that these vocal traits are more about how men choose to express themselves rather than any physical differences caused by hormones. For example, gay men may adopt certain speech patterns as a way to signal their identity or to fit into specific social groups. It's more of a learned behavior than a biological one, shaped by cultural norms and individual choices. Moreover, studies debunk the myth that higher-pitched voices or more expressive speech are linked to lower testosterone levels. There's no evidence to support the idea that gay men have lower levels of testosterone or that their vocal traits are the result of hormonal differences. Instead, the way people speak is a reflection of their personality, environment, and experiences. In short, the voice differences between gay and straight men aren't driven by hormones like testosterone. Instead, they come from social and cultural factors, highlighting the complexity of human speech and identity. 5. How does voice modulation change based on the listener? One fascinating aspect of human speech is how we change the way we talk depending on who we're speaking to. This is true for both gay and heterosexual men, but in different ways. Studies have shown that men, regardless of their sexual orientation, often modify their voice depending on the situation and the listener. This process of adjusting speech, known as voice modulation, reveals a lot about how people use their voice to communicate social cues. For heterosexual men, voice modulation often involves deepening their voice when they are in situations where they want to assert dominance or authority. For example, they may lower their pitch when speaking in leadership roles or when trying to impress women. This deeper voice is associated with traditional ideas of masculinity, strength, and confidence. It's a subtle way of signaling these traits to others through their speech. On the other hand, gay men tend to modulate their voices differently. In some social settings, they may speak in a way that makes them sound less gay, especially if they feel the need to fit in or avoid drawing attention. Conversely, in environments where they feel more comfortable or accepted, they may allow their voice to sound more expressive or exhibit traits associated with the gay voice. This flexibility in speech reflects how much social context and acceptance influence the way people choose to express themselves. Interestingly, both gay and straight men are aware of how their voices are perceived by others, and they adjust accordingly. This shows that voice modulation is not just about physical traits but is also a strategic tool for navigating social interactions. Gay men, in particular, may modulate their voice more consciously, depending on whether they feel safe or want to emphasize certain aspects of their identity. This ability to shift voice depending on the listener highlights how dynamic and adaptable human speech is. It also shows that the gay voice isn't a fixed trait but something that can change based on the social environment. Speech is a powerful form of self-expression, and voice modulation allows people to communicate who they are, or who they want to appear to be, depending on the situation. 6. How does the environment influence speech? The way we speak is shaped not only by who we are but also by the environments we spend time in. For gay men, this is especially true. Research shows that over time, many gay men may develop or enhance certain speech patterns that are associated with the gay voice, especially after coming out or becoming more comfortable in their identity. This suggests that sounding gay can be, in part, a social adaptation. For example, studies of gay men who create content on platforms like YouTube show that their speech often becomes more stereotypically gay as they spend more time publicly expressing their identity. This isn't just about copying others, it's a way of embracing their individuality and feeling free to express themselves more authentically. The speech traits that some people associate with the gay voice might become more pronounced because the individual feels empowered to let go of social restraints and be themselves. This phenomenon also speaks to the idea of community influence. When people are surrounded by others who share similar experiences, they may naturally start to adopt certain behaviors, including speech patterns, as a way to belong or connect. Just like in any social group, shared ways of talking can help create a sense of unity. For gay men, sounding gay can sometimes be a way of signaling solidarity with the LGBTQ+ community. But this isn't always a conscious decision. Many men may not even realize that their voice has changed over time, it's simply a reflection of feeling more comfortable in their own skin. As society becomes more accepting, individuals are more likely to feel safe expressing themselves fully, including through their voice. At the same time, not every gay man will adopt these speech traits, and many may even avoid them to fit into different social circles. The influence of the environment can push people in different directions. Some may lean into the gay voice as a way to express pride, while others may downplay it to avoid attention or judgment. In short, the environment plays a major role in shaping how someone speaks. For many gay men, the way they express themselves vocally can evolve over time, depending on the level of acceptance and the people they interact with. 7. Differences compared to women. There's often a comparison made between the way gay men and women speak, with some people assuming that gay men's speech patterns are more feminine. While there are certainly some similarities, the gay voice has its own unique characteristics that set it apart from how women typically speak. Understanding these differences is key to breaking down stereotypes and appreciating the diversity within human speech. One of the main reasons people might think gay men sound like women is because of the greater variation in pitch and the elongation of certain sounds, traits that are also associated with female speech. However, Studies show that while these features may be present in both groups, they are not identical. Gay men often use more exaggerated pitch variation than women, giving their speech a distinct, more dynamic quality. This difference highlights that the gay voice isn't just a copy of female speech but rather its own style of expression. Additionally, while women may also elongate vowels and articulate consonants clearly, gay men tend to do this in a way that feels more deliberate or stylized. For instance, the way some gay men pronounce the S sound can be sharper and more drawn out than the softer pronunciation typically heard in female speech. This creates a unique vocal pattern that is neither fully masculine nor fully feminine but exists somewhere in between. Another key difference is in the use of intonation and emphasis. Gay men may place emphasis on certain words or phrases in a more dramatic or expressive way, which is often seen as a form of vocal performance. While women may also use expressive intonation, the way gay men do it tends to stand out more due to the added layer of performance or flair that comes with it. It's also important to remember that not all gay men speak in a way that could be compared to women. Just as there is a wide variety in how women speak, there is also a broad spectrum of speech patterns among gay men. Some may have speech traits that people associate with femininity, while others may have more neutral or traditionally masculine voices. In conclusion, while there are some overlapping traits between the way gay men and women speak, the gay voice has its own distinctive features. It's a blend of masculine and feminine qualities, but it stands apart as a unique form of self-expression. Before you go, did you know that over 95% of the people who watch our videos and leave a like aren't subscribed? Subscribing is super important and helps us a lot. By hitting that subscribe button, you're helping us move closer to making a living through YouTube. This will allow us to keep creating even more high-quality videos just for you. So if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Don't forget to leave a like, too. Every bit of support helps us bring better content to the channel. And if you're curious, check out our next video, Stop Drinking Water, where we explore an unexpected twist on what you thought was healthy.